Video how to install this little thing, brushes on a generator. The first thing you need to do is to pull the fuse out of the controller and make sure it's not in there. If that fuse is in there, the generator does have the capability to automatically start. With it out, it cannot start. I'll prove it with a manual. Nothing. First thing to note is the orientation of this little device. So you got this brushes, it's got a set of ears and this little set of tabs here. Two brushes. It matters which way it goes in. Okay, here's a generator. This little device goes right down here. You see them two little holes? Here's your two little screws that you're going to use. You're going to need to rent the ratchet extension 7mm bit or 7mm socket. You're going to go ahead and connect the wires to the brushes. It's real important. See the blue wire? It connects to the positive side, and it's the side with the little ears. If you look in the very back, you'll see there's a little positive signal. But the blue wire to the positive ears for the positive on the side with the ears, and then the black on the back side. Then when you put this in here, you don't just want to take it and push it straight back. You want to go down. Sorry, my big fat hand's in the way. And then push up. When you put this in, you're not just going to want to push it straight back. You want to go underneath and then push it up. And the reason is you want to get them spring-loaded brushes onto the slip rings. So bring it in low and then push it up. That's where the new brushes are going. You see where I left the screws? After you get the brushes in, it's a good opportunity to perform a test. This is going to be pretty loud. Just put the fuse back in the generator. You may have to go through an installation wizard. Just hit enter a whole bunch of times. Hit escape, enter. Just make it escape a couple times, enter a couple times. Alright, until there's no alarm, it just has switched off. Then you're going to put it on manual and let it run and see if it produces a voltage. You'll know it because it'll run successfully and it won't shut itself down on under voltage. It's going to be pretty loud. If you get that alarm, just don't do anything else. That means that the brushes weren't the problem, and you're not going to fix it unless you change this whole PCB board underneath here. I forgot to mention, at this point, if you're going to continue on assembling the generator, you need to remove that fuse from that controller board. You don't want to be working on it and for some reason the generator accidentally or automatically starts. And if the test is successful and it did produce the generator voltage, you may be inclined to say, well, let's just stop at this point and run the generator as it is and just assemble the rest of the generator later. That might work for a little while, but you're going to risk damaging the generator because you don't have the cooling fans on it, and the airflow is not going to be running through the generator. And it's also, you've got a temperature, you know, it's without the weather enclosure and not the airflow across it, you could be getting moisture in there, and you the main issue is that you're not going to have the airflow across it for cooling purposes. So if you absolutely needed to, in an emergency, needed to do it, you could just continue looking through the video and put the little fan blade on at the end and bolt it on together. You could probably run it like that, but you're going to be getting a lot of contaminants in through the generator, and it might damage the generator. But if it's an emergency and you need to do it, just put that fan blade on. So you got the brushes on, you're going to want to put this shield on. Basically it just goes in there pretty straightforward. See the holes line up there? See the other hole line up down there? Bolt that in, bolt this in. Also need to put this screw in. That's this funny looking one with the Allen wrench, just like the others that are on the top. Boy, I don't see any. Notice your shaft coming through the screen. After the shroud, you're going to want to put the flywheel on. Here's the flywheel, got all the blades and the shaft. The blades go to the inside, just slips on, and you got this long bolt. Goes all the way in there, screw it down tight, and that'll hold it on. After the flywheel, or after the fan blade, you're going to want to put the muffler on. Basically goes in here like this. Notice the bolt there. There's a bolt on the other side. See these ears here? 1, 2. There's bolts on the back. I left the bolts in there. Make sure your exhaust lines up into the flexible fit in here, and tighten it down. After you get the muffler in there, put this little side shroud. You can see a bolt down there, and the other bolts. Fits in there like that. Just got the bolts on there now. After that, you're going to want to put the end piece on with the louvers. Going to have a couple of bolts on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll bolt these up on the side, and there's another 2 over here. Those things use these little clips. And these standard bolts, 10mm. One note on this this end piece. Look how this lip goes. The lip of the shroud goes over the lip of this side piece, not the other way. You can see the bolt hole right there. You can put this little hot plate on now. You can see the bolts that go there. Okay, then you got to put these exhaust cover pieces on the end. There's 2 of them. This one goes this way. Get this back one in first. Got the bolt holes. And then get this one in. All the bolt holes line up and bolt to these black pieces and to the muffler itself. The bolts for all this top piece right here
are these shiny silver guys. I'm gonna leave these probably on the table somewhere. Then you can install this cross brace. You can see the hole where it goes, lines up here. So you'll need to put it on when you put that bolt on there. And you can see over here where it goes. You're going to want to install the roof piece. You're going to need some help with this because it's kind of heavy. You can see it's got hinge bolts there and there. They bolt up to there and there. It's kind of tricky. You got to put it together at the right time. You might have already put the bolts in, you have to take them off, but those bolts are these 4 with the back nuts on them. Actually, I'm gonna put these on the hinge here so they don't get lost. Okay, after you get the roof piece on, I'm not going to do it here because it's going to make my house of cards right there fall apart. None of that's bolted together. After you get that roof piece on, the side wall here, it basically just slips in and you hook a little hook on that little eye right there. It doesn't require any bolts to take on and off. Finished, you're gonna have to start it up, or you're gonna have to go through the initialization wizard and reset the date and all the parameters, mainly just the date and the run time on Friday for the test run, and to turn the power saving mode off to where it just runs full blast, you know, full speed, and doesn't try to do that one cylinder or partial run business, because it's just a mess. And hopefully it'll be good to go. If that brush in there wasn't the problem, pretty much it's going to have to be a change of the board inside of this thing. And take this black cover off. There's a couple of screws on the gray part, and then there's a PCB board on there that would have to be changed. That's all the electronics and the voltage regulator. I don't have one of those ordered.